Welcome to the River Cruising Masterclass. My name is Sydney Schellinger, and I am so excited that you are here with us today. So, a couple of months ago, I did my review on the Rhone River Cruise, which was on Riverside Luxury Cruises. And I will tell you, I have had about 12 couples go since then on Riverside and have loved it. And so I kind of wanted to do a full review as we've done. This is the next part of our series. We are going in alphabetical order, as I said. We did Riviera, now we are on Riverside, which I consider the complete opposite end of the spectrum because this is going to be ultra luxury. Now, the history of Riverside is that I don't know if you've heard of Crystal Ocean Cruising. During the pandemic, Crystal owned Ocean and River Cruises, and it went bankrupt. I happened to sell on it like a month before they went bankrupt because they were the first ocean cruise line that started doing cruising after the pandemic. But if you want a side quest, basically they ran out of money while they were sailing with clients. And so they were evading the law for like 2 or 3 days where they did not go to the port they were supposed to because they didn't want the ship seized. So they went and moved to another like cruise port. It was interesting. Anyways, I digress. So that cruise line was split up into 2 different ones. Now, Crystal Ocean Cruise is now reimagined and exists with the tour company A&K, so Abercrombie and Kent. Not Abercrombie and Fitch, different. Different. It's a very top end land tour company, and they have been doing amazing things with the ocean product. Completely revamped the entire inside of the cruise ships, made it less people on board, and just really have elevated that experience. Now on to the river products. There are a total of 5 ships that are part of the Crystal Cruise collection that were purchased by a was purchased by a hotelier in Europe and is now Riverside Luxury Cruises. So Riverside Luxury Cruises has 5 ships, but they're only currently running 3 because the other 2 are actually on loan to Uniworld. And so that's how they are funding their operations and keeping everything afloat, is that with those 2 ships that are owned by, being rented by Uniworld. I have some clients who are going on it with Uniworld brand. But these ships are all suites, massive standard cabin size, walk-in closets, some real bathtubs and categories, and every room category has a butler. So this is going to be, unless we start getting into the like private and barges, this is going to be the top of the line when it comes to river cruising, in my personal and professional opinion. And this is in multiple ways. So they have 2 ship categories that they currently have right now. They have the cruise on the Rhine and the Rhone, and those are done on the Ravel and the Debussy. And those are going to be your typical river cruise size ships, but they only have 110 people on board versus 190 for Viking, for 150, 160 on Ama, and 140 for Tauk. So just in that side. Now, they are only one of 2 ships in the entire European fleet that have what in the travel industry we call mega wides, or no, double wides. They're double wides. But they can only go from a certain part of the Danube River. So the other company that has it is Ama Waterways, and it's called the Ama Magna. And then the other cruise line is Riverside, and theirs is called the Riverside Mozart. So this is going to be twice the width of normal cruises, so like 2 put together. And it's going to have less people. So on the Ama Waterways one, I think they have close to 300, and Riverside has about 240. So you have not a lot of people for a ton of extra space. They have multiple dining locations, and they have all kinds of other things. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, as there are 2 ships that they 2 ship types that they technically run, and they are very unique in the fact that they are one of 2 tour cruise companies that have these double wides. Now, I will tell you that Ama Waterways is commissioning a second double wide, and it's going to be called the Ama Rudy, but just for like comparison, we're talking about 15. There might be a 16th. And of that, only two ships, period. Not even two brands, two ships are like this. So that is, and another thing that sets Riverside apart is on the two ships that are the normal river cruise size, the entry level cabin is a French balcony. So the lowest level you can go is a French balcony, which I think is great. Which is also amazing because the first 5 rooms in the entry level category have a 0 solo supplement. So if you are a solo guest and you're wanting that luxury experience, Riverside is where you should go because you can get on and not have to pay anything extra to have a room by yourself. So, who is the ideal traveler? So Riverside is very much focused on catering towards that luxury traveler who is looking for things to be taken care of, but also someone who is looking for those, like that foodie. So they also are catering to people who like to make selections. I will tell you, if you go on Riverside's website, it is confusing because they have 4 different ways that you can travel with them. I honestly don't even advertise this as an advisor because it's confusing. And I have told them this and they need to make up their mind. But because they are owned by a European company, Europeans like to have the options. So you can do just getting on the river cruise, so you don't get any excursions or alcohol included. Then they have another layer, which is you get on the cruise ship with alcohol. And then there is getting on the cruise ship with excursions, or the all-inclusive, which is getting the cruise ship, alcohol, and excursions. I don't know if anyone who I talk to who doesn't sell it with its complete package just because it's easier. And not easier, it's also just a better value, because I will tell you that the cruise line makes everything from scratch on board. They literally even make their own simple syrups on the ship every day for their specialty cocktails. I was obsessed. I will always be and forever obsessed. They do have bikes and e-bikes that you can use in every port, but they're not going to have a bunch of those tours. They do have some that are included, but you can also check them out. So it's not super active. I will tell you that this is the only cruise line that will allow you to have any age kids. They have no age restrictions. But, and this is the big but, there is still nothing for them to do. So if you have a child who is younger, you do want to make sure that you have things for them to do. I would say, like, most of the time, if you were going to do this, I'd probably have like a nanny, just things of that nature. This is not a trip or a cruise line for budget-focused cruisers. They do not do any sales. The only sale they do is that solo supplement. And I think the most I've ever seen them give out is like a 10% discount. This is not a cruise line for if you are looking to get more of that. How much can I see and what can we do for the best value for this? Because they have a lot of value for what they offer, and they know who their clients are. They are someone who focuses on that exclusive experience, who want those extra touch points of the food being made every day by the chefs, who wants the butlers and things like that. And those aren't things you have to have an amazing cruise experience. So I'm not trying to make anyone feel like this isn't for them or that, river cruising isn't for you. I just don't think Riverside Cruises is for you. So they definitely are putting out that like elevated thing. And even with their like wine lists, they have a sommelier on staff. They are doing all of these different things. It's very much European boutique hotel energy. And it's fun, it's exciting, but it's just making sure that you keep that in mind when you're doing that. So as I talked about, there are the 3 ships that they currently have in the waters, which is the Mozart, the Ravel, and the Debussy. So we do have the option for 2 twin beds or kings. As I said, there are marble bathrooms, walk-in closets, dual sinks, and in some of the suites there are full bathtubs. The Mozart especially, they do have the rooms for 3 to 4 people, which is nice if you do have a family. So that is definitely something to keep in consideration. And so if you are looking for space, this is going to be one of the better ones because of the fact that they are less people for the same size ships. Now, when it comes to dining, as I've talked about, this is where Riverside is going to shine. They spend double the amount of food than Ama Waterways does per person. Now, that's kind of relative because I don't know how much Ama Waterways spends on average per person for food on a 7-night cruise. But I will tell you, it is nice. They have multiple dining venues, especially on the Mozart, but even on the Debussy and the Ravel, they have their full dining room. They have a specialty dining room if you want to pay extra. And then they also just have like a bar area where you can go and grab some food. They also have room service 24/7. You can call up and have it delivered to your room for free with your butler. So it's not going to be like buffet heavy. There's not going to be lines. It's very much going to be, how can we help you? What can we do? And if you liked something from the day before, the chef will make it for you again. Level of service that you can expect. When I was there, we did like a specialty French night where we got to try all the different French foods. And then we had one where it was literally like a lobster tail for an appetizer, a half a lobster tail with all the like Cajun spices. So they really elevate, and it was like prime ribeye, and I had that more than one night. Don't judge me. So it's definitely an elevated, amazing top-end experience when it comes to food. I think it's the best food I've had on the rivers, and I think that it's really great how they are able to just have everything cooked there. They even do homemade noodles for their pastas. I also had that for a lot of meals. So what is there to do on board? It is, as we always talk about, river cruising is destination focused. They do have lounge music on some of the evenings. We had some wine tastings. We even had a mixology class with the bartender when we were sailing one day. I had clients who did the Christmas markets and they had like cookie decorating classes. There is a fitness center, there is a massage parlor, there's a pool. It is indoor if you are doing a winter cruise. They have a wonderful upstairs area with a bar. So they have a bunch of things that you could do relative to a river cruise. So there's not going to be a ton. I did enjoy how they had a DJ after hours where you could just do like Total Request Live. And so you can make your own adventure. I sent 7 ladies on the Christmas markets river cruise, and they had a themed for every night. And they dressed up and they just ran the staff ragged as they do. And it was so fun to see all the photos and the videos and just being able to do the DJ after dinner. So you can make a lot of fun with this sort of thing and do as much as you want. I will say that what they don't do super well on Riverside, which it just depends on your personality. Their port talks aren't as good as some of the other cruise lines. I don't know if it's just that they originally weren't going to have the position of like cruise manager in the typical river cruise sense, and have gotten like feedback about how people miss that sort of person in that discussion. And so it feels like their office manager is doing multiple roles. I think that that's an area that they can improve on, but it also is just someone who like has been on river cruises before versus those that have not. And someone who hasn't been on one will probably not miss not having that sort of talk every night before dinner. So what is included and what's an extra cost? And this is where that whole thing comes into it. And I don't sell anything unless you are someone who just doesn't drink alcohol. I basically only sell that top package, the all-inclusive, you don't have to worry about anything while you're on board. And that's going to include all of the amazing fine dining. When I was on board, we had a lady in our party who was allergic to corn, gluten. She's allergic to everything. I love her to death, but she's got a lot of allergies. And they were able to edit the menu every night to appease how she was able to eat. So they're very good about setting that up and being conscientious of your allergies. All of your drinks are included, not just wine and beer at dinner. Your premium beverages. There are some wines that do cost extra, or if you are doing top shelf, but there was very few things that I ran across. Nothing that I drink. that came across as like an extra cost. And the shore excursions are included, great Wi-Fi, and gratuities are also included. That is not an extra cost. You're not going to see that at the end. It is fully included in the cost, as well as your butler and things of that nature. There is the extra, which is spa treatments, as I said, certain premium wines, and that's really it. It's as close to all-inclusive as you're going to get when it comes to river cruising if you do that top-end package that they have, which is really what I recommend, because if not, it gets confusing. Because I will tell you that when you're in the rooms, and it was something that I made a suggestion to, is that they have a cost for room service, which is free, if you know, like for drinks and things like that, but they have a cost to it because not everyone is on it. But I was like, well, what percentage? And they were like, well, 95% of people are on the all-inclusive program. And I'm like, well, then it should be where you can just like take out and remove it. And so they have a free version, and then one that costs money for those few people that aren't part of this program. I don't know if they've made that change since then, but, you know, room service, your drinks, you could literally, don't tell Riverside, but when you first get on, they give you a bottle of champagne to welcome you on board. It's in your room. I had about 4 cabins with me. We all took our bottles of champagne home with us because we were staying in Paris for a couple of nights, because it was just, there was so much free alcohol flowing everywhere. We didn't need to use the one from our room. So it might have gotten rolled up in our suitcases, and we had a great time with it in Paris. Oopsie daisies. Don't follow my lead unless you want to. I won't tell anyone. Just think of a little Schellinger surprise. My dad would be proud. So as we said, they focus on the classic European rivers. They do the Rhine, the Danube, and the Rhone. Right now, the Uniworld contract, I think, is for another 2 years. So we won't know what they will do when they have the full 5 ships yet. But they are very much focused on some more unique excursions, adding some extra things into them, making it sure that it's very limited in the amount of people. So they're not going... Most of the cruise lines are going to have, 20 to 30. They're focusing on 10 to 20 in how the shore excursions land. They also, similar to Uniworld and Scenic, they do an exclusive excursion for each cruise ship, for each itinerary. And when we did ours on the Rhone, we went to this special winery, Chateau des Popes, which is the Pope's winery. We had a private viewing. We went there after hours. They had a violinist play the entire time, and we had one of the owners give a full history of the wine and tasting. So they do things like that. They had a private gallery when they did the Danube River. They also go to a castle on the Rhine River and do like a dinner or appetizers. So they do a lot of things like that to just elevate the experience and provide that like exclusive that you can only get with Riverside. Now, is it a good value? Now, this is where we get into the difficult part of understanding what the value is that you're paying for and why you're paying more for it than you would for AMA Waterways. And that's going to be focused on how many people are on board the ship, how much you are going to appreciate the drinks and having all of that stuff handmade, how much you are going to appreciate the amount of effort they're putting into this exclusive food, and if you are enjoying that high staff ratio. It's almost 1-to-1, or like 2-to-1. When I went on, it was 1-to-1, but it's going to be calmer. So like if you're going to do it purely based on price per night, it is going to look higher. It is going to be the shell shock for you. But if you do it based on like the space ratio, the ship design, what exclusive things you're getting, how many people are going to be on board, what the feel of the trip is going to be, if those are things that are a priority to you, having that more luxury experience and those pieces that kind of like tie into it, that is where Riverside is going to shine for you guys. So my personal highlight when I went on it was a mix of, it was the food. I thought the food was amazingly done. I think that they have a great sort of setup. I will say that the space is very nice. It doesn't feel cramped at all. I do wish the pool was outdoors, but that's just because I also love to tan while I'm swimming. I am a redhead, but I do get color and I appreciate that. And so I would say that I think the food definitely elevates the experience, and the fact that everything is cooked, processed, maintained on board. Like nothing is being brought in pre-made. And I think that is what you're paying for, and that is that elevated experience that you have. Now, where can Riverside improve? I've kind of sprinkled some in already, but it is a newer company. It launched in 2023, so it's in its third year. It's really starting to get its groove and understanding its value proposition. The service is strong, are recruiting a lot of great staff, and the staff say that the experience on board is 10 times better than any other cruise line that they've been a part of. So the staff really do love what they're doing and where they're working, because the owner respects and appreciates them as well. It doesn't have a huge loyalty base, and the marketing is definitely focused on that ultra luxury positioning, which it's what does that mean on the river? How do you sell it? To me, it's a very overused word. I will say that if I had someone who is very much focused on that foodie experience, wanting to have less people on board to truly have an elevated experience, I would be directing them towards Riverside. If there was someone who wanted to have a lot of or who had kids who were younger but still wanted to have the experience of a river cruise because there's no age limits, based on how they were and what their kids would probably be like, I would be directing them towards Riverside. If they were more 7+, I would be directing people with kids to Tauk and their river cruise program that they have for children, or Uniworld. Both of them have a Generations program that is pretty good, or Adventures by Disney. Anyways, I digress. But if you had younger kids and you wanted to set this up and set the scene for just a great place to have your kids who were well behaved but wanted to do a river cruise, this would be who I would do, because they have no age limit. So you could have a multi-generational sort of experience on board. That would be, or, as I said, if you're a solo traveler with the zero single supplement, you have a great option there. And I definitely think it's worth the value if these are things that you do value. Does it live up to the hype? I think mostly yes, especially with the ships themselves. It is an elevated product. It delivers on the promise. The service side continues to evolve and get stronger. I think that the people working there are great. I just think it's understanding different people's roles and how that all fits into the grand scheme of what they're trying to sell as this luxury product. So how does it compare? Let's just go with, Uniworld. So Uniworld is more theatrical and is going to definitely play into that, whereas Riverside is more of the understated, feeling. I would put Riverside over Uniworld, but it would be closer, right? So Riverside would be number one, and I think Uniworld is below them, but I think it's not super far off in terms of what you're receiving on board and how you're doing things. But with Uniworld, you definitely do have to expect they're gaudy. I love it. I love all the sparkle, the gleam, the glam. It's what I live for, but you just have to be prepared for it, because that is how Uniworld ships are. Alma Waterways Riverside is going to have larger suites. It's going to have less people on board, right? So you literally are going to have about 40 plus people less on Riverside. You're also going to have a little bit more of an elevated dining experience, a couple of different shore excursions. So Riverside has e-bikes. Alma Waterways does not. They have the old-fashioned bikes, which for me is a problem, because I did tell you my story about when I was on Alma doing the bike tour, which was 11 miles, and I thought they were lying, and they were not. I had to give up halfway through and go back to the ship. Couldn't make it. Anyways, so Riverside is very niche. It's kind of sitting within this luxury river cruise experience. If it's something that you've wanted to experience, but you're afraid of too many people, if you are afraid that the food's not going to be great, I would lean you towards Riverside because I think you would have a great time. If you are a solo traveler, I would lean you towards Riverside because of just the value of not having to pay for a second person if you lock on to the cruise fast enough. Final thoughts on Riverside. I think it's a great cruise line. They are still learning. I wish they would be able to do a couple of more promos to get people intrigued and to be able to see how great their brand is and how it is worth the price. But I will tell you that I think it is worth what they are charging. I think what they're doing on board is great. I think that they have an elevated dining, they have an elevated shore excursion program, and the ships overall are just beautiful. They have definitely stepped up what is considered river cruising. And I don't even see anything coming in the future that will really be a comparison to them. The only one that could come close, I think, is going to be the Lindblad, but they're very much focused on making it like an expedition, but they are going to be similar sized because they're at 120. But again, Riverside's at 110, and they have this very focused product. They have been featured in Travel and Leisure, Condé Nast as one of the top river cruise companies. So they are making a name for themselves. And if you can tell by my review, I think you can see why. But that is kind of... Oh, I totally forgot to mention. One of the things that Riverside is doing, and I think it's because they do, again, have that European owner, which for me is a good and a bad. They have broken up their ships into multiple days. So you could be on a ship for 3 days, you could be on it for 7. And so people will be coming in and off the cruise all the time. And so you have to determine how long you want to be on the ship. So you could only do I just quoted one that was it was Vienna to Budapest, or you could go Vienna round trip, right? So you could do 4 days or 8 days. And so that's where they have an advantage for people who want to try river cruising but don't want to commit to a full week. You could do a Riverside cruise and only do it for a couple of days to see if you like it. That is something that they are doing that is exclusive for the most part. There's very few that do the very short river cruises. I think it's very I would say that they're one of 2 or 3 max that do the multiple night, all the different options where people are coming on and coming off at different times and based on, what you're wanting to see and how the dates work. So I think that they have a good product. I think that they're worth the value. Okay, so now let me get back to the point, which was closing out this episode on Riverside. Okay, Riverside Luxury Cruises. It is for someone who wants to try river cruising, who enjoys less people on board and is willing to pay for it, who likes to have all of those specialty cocktails, who wants to be able to know that their food is prepared in-house every day, who wants everything included and not have to worry about a single thing. Riverside is going to be that cruise line for you. It is definitely an elevated experience. You are going to find the ships absolutely gorgeous, and it is a unique experience on the river. Now, if you are interested in Riverside, you can definitely reach out to me and I can explain in more details the multiple different ways that they sell it by days or by type, right? If you want drinks, excursions, no excursions, the whole thing. And I have, again, told you what I feel about that and how I usually don't quote anything but the top one unless you tell me that you don't drink. But it is a great cruise line for solos. It is a great cruise line for girls trips. They're doing golf packages this summer. They are definitely elevating the game and want to bring you along. If you have any questions about this or other river cruise companies, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is Sydney, SYDNEY, at thepoodlebookedit.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of them at Travel Advisors Sydney. I would love to connect. I appreciate you guys all listening and enjoying these reviews as I do them. If there's any other questions you have that I can answer about river cruising, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am here as a guide, as a support, and I'm really just focused on making sure you have the best experience. And with that, I'll let you guys go, and I hope you have a great day.